This is Matthew McConaughey,
Natalie Portman.
James Patterson,
Michael Ian Black,
and you are listening to
Five questions
with Dan
Schawbel.
Dan, welcome to Five Questions.
Thank you.
Well, it's so great to have you here, and another Dan. Us Dans have a kinship.
Yes, all of the Dans in the world. Do you get like a little tingle in your heart when you hear Danny Boy?
Actually, I don't really like Danny or Daniel. I was born Daniel. I just like Dan, and the reason is because I felt like Daniel was too professional and formal, and Danny was too kid-like. So Dan was like perfect for me.
Yeah, I'm a Daniel too, and I shortened it to Dan pretty quick.
Smart. I love that.
Thanks. Appreciate it.
So, how did your dad help you while you were coming up as an actor?
Whoa, is this question number one?
That's question number one.
Wow. This is cool because my dad, Richard, he wanted to be an actor. He went to like the original Fame School in New York for School for Performing Arts. I guess it was it like had a bunch of different names, but he went to the original, and he was sophomore year. He had done a play, and his parents, my grandparents, came to see him, and he was like, "So what do you think?" And they were like, "Well, maybe you should be a doctor." And so he would, and because you listened to your parents back then, and they wanted him to have a job that had some security, he went and became a doctor. And so because he became a doctor, I was born into the best case scenario because he had the income to help me as long as I possibly could, as a starving actor. And he supported me, and he was living vicariously. So yeah, I was the best case scenario.
Yeah. And yeah, you're like carrying out his dream potentially, right?
Yeah. Very proud of me. He's a very proud papa. Yeah.
What did you learn from your first few meetings with agents that help you improve your craft?
Oh man. Oh God. Each one of them was their own little disaster. I should make a movie of all the meetings I had when I first got out of college. What did I learn from my first agent meetings? Is that what the question is? My first agent meeting?
Yeah. What feedback did they give you?
Wow. I'll give you I'm not gonna name names, but it taught me a lot about the business. One of my first meetings, because I went to a conservatory school, and they came to see us in a showcase, and then they were just like, so I got a couple of bites. So I went to go see one of these possible agents, and and I basically gave them my resume. It's when you get out of college at that point, it's like everything is such a catch-22. It's like everything is, all my credits are non-professional, so you bring them to this professional agent, and they're just like, yeah, I liked you. Come back when when you do something professional. Just like, right, I need you to get me.
You have to be successful before you can be successful.
Yeah. And before they can put their stamp of approval on you. And so I'm in the middle of one of these conversations with a guy for the first time, and he stops talking, and he's got a headset on, and he just starts acting like he's like, oh, hold on, I have a call. And he just starts acting like he has a call. And then he turns away from me, and I'm just like, what the hell is going on here? And he turns his computer to face me so I can see, what's scrolling across the bottom there. And it says, if you're reading this right now, this meeting isn't going very well. Okay. He didn't even have the ball. It's good. Yeah. He didn't even have the balls to just be like, yeah, thank you. Please. No, goodbye. He just made me read his scrolling screen. And I was just like, oh, what? I backed out of that room backwards, just being like, ha cha 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 cha. I didn't like it was. I was devastated. That's what I learned. I learned that this business can be devastating, and the rejection can be even more devastating. And there's not a lot of respect, and you have to really be in this because you love it. And that eventually there's a lot of agents out there. So
yeah, and you can't take things personally because if you do, as hard as it is, because they're like, we don't like your hair or your look or you're too short or tall or whatever it might be. And it's not just about the craft, but it's also about the look. And it's hard not to take, appearance seriously and personally.
Yeah. The other thing I learned was that the person behind the table who's judging you, they like to make sure that whatever happens, it's their idea. Yeah. So when you're auditioning and you go out, you may give the greatest audition in the world, and then you leave, but you don't get the part. You just put the idea into the person's head, and they were like, yes, that's what I want. Whoever comes in next with that energy, that's who I will cast. So it's crazy. There's so much against you. The odds of you having a successful career is astronomical.
Yeah, which is probably why they told your dad, hey, you probably should become an actor.
Yeah, you should be a doctor. He became a great doctor, but I always wonder if there was a parallel universe where he got to be an actor. What would have happened?
And what impact did The Godfather have in your career? And what did you learn about the movie business while filming the series The Offer about its creation?
Wow, it's a miracle that any movie gets made. Like I've made some movies, and they were little small budget movies that were so hard to make. And just the legend of what The Offer is about, how The Godfather was made. It's just like every day was a war to be fought for this movie, a battle. Every day was just an uphill battle. And so it's like the greatest movie that almost never got made every day. But that movie is like so special. I mean, it's when I first learned, when I was in high school, and I was like, I think I'm going to be an actor. This is what I want to do. Like, I went to the store and I got just a stack of movies to watch. And like, I went to, all of the basics. I think I literally put Godfather in first because of Brando. Because in high school, we read Uta Hagen, and she talks about sense memory and Strasberg, and so I was like, okay, they mentioned Brando quite a bit, and I'm just like, okay, let's start with this movie. And I loved it. I loved the ensemble. I basically reverse engineered it and was like, okay, I want to watch everything Brando was in from when he was young. Just like you said, this is the guy from Nothing. I was like, oh my God, I watched him. This is Stanley. This is Stanley Kowalski. Who I share a last name with in some regards, but who I learned about in college, and Stella, and I was like, well, okay, so then you go from that point all the way to The Godfather and see everything he's in there. I mean, just that alone is a huge education. And I did that with all the everybody, Pacino, and watched the second movie, did that with De Niro. And that was my first classroom, basically.
Yeah.
And of course,
that movie's movie's influenced so many people. So you can kind of understand the rest of the movie business just from that movie alone.
Yeah. There was supposedly, who is it? Well, like Spielberg saw The Godfather and was just like, should I even continue making movies? Like, it's like, thank God he did.
Yeah.
But he it was that impactful. He just questioned his whole reality. I love that.
And what's the process of turning your graphic novels into movie adaptations, and how involved are you in those projects?
Very involved. Each one of them is written to be eventually a TV show or a movie, or I have 3 titles with Heavy Metal Magazine. Moon Lake, which is like my heavy metal, the movie homage, Tales from the Crypt, Twilight Zone style of a story. And we're animating that now. So that is like a huge dream come true. We're going to have an animated show.
Cool.
Yeah. And then wrote the script for Brooklyn Gladiator, which is like my dystopian sci-fi story. Hopefully we'll make that into some live action, or who knows, maybe animated. I got to see what happens. I'm pretty malleable with how things turn out. And there's another title called Fishkill, which we're shopping around as, maybe a TV show or a movie. That's always the end goal, is to make all this stuff franchisable. That's just, is that a word? I guess.
Well, it's smart because you've analyzed the movie market and that's what they're looking for. And if you're going to put so much effort into writing this, then you need to at least have some sense of how you're going to leverage it to create what you want.
Yeah, I learned that it's a really good thing to own the IP, to own the property, to have it published, and they're looking for that. So it's really good to get a comic book out there so that it's a tangible, product.
And I think people like comic books a lot more now. I feel like just in general, the comic hobby and just, all the kind of collectible hobbies have really taken off over the past few years because of nostalgia, young people coming of age. Like, I've gotten more into Ninja Turtles again, and I had like all those action figures growing up, and all the different comics from Marvel. And so I feel like there's a real hunger and thirst for that type of content, and in all different forms too. I mean, podcasts, movies, comic books. So I've definitely seen the rise in interest in all of that. And because you're an actor too, you also give that type of credibility. So I think that has probably paid off really well for you.
That was my first thing too, man. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. That was like my gateway into comic books. That was like my first one, because my brother had his comic books, and that's how I found heavy metal. Like I took Heavy Metal Magazine off the shelf and I was like, ooh, I was way too young to read that magazine. But that was like, oh, this is interesting. These are some nice pictures. And then I was like, I want to find my own comic book. And that's what Ninja Turtles was. And I was like, this is gritty, man. Because the original stuff was really, like black and white noir.
Yeah.
And that Raphael was my gateway into all of my favorite vigilantes, Wolverine. And
Kevin Eastman was actually on a podcast like 2 weeks ago.
Cool. Yeah, he's with heavy metal, and it's just a dream come true to work alongside somebody like that. It's like it's very cool, man.
That's awesome. And what's your best piece of career advice?
Okay, I would say my best piece of career advice is, if you're for actors or for my career,
anything you want, any piece of advice that
I guess this works for any
people.
This works for any kind of situation where you have to go in and give some kind of audition, or you have to give a job interview or something. Oh boy, you're gonna get rejected. This is something that, may he rest in peace, Philip Seymour Hoffman said on the Actors Studio. He said that you got to treat every audition like it's a performance. So you have some kind of fulfillment as an actor. You're going to get rejected. You're going to get rejected so much. And you have to, my thing is, okay, you can get rejected. And Rocky talks about, it's you get hit and you fall down, but it's how you get up, and I like to say, you're going to take a lot of hits, you're going to get a lot of rejection, and then you have to become like an alchemist. You have to reverse, you have to be like, use Aikido and reverse that energy of rejection and come tangoing back. You have to feed off of that energy. You have to be able, because that's what you're going to get. You're going to get a lot of people who are going to just not get you. And the odds are against you. So you have to tango with the rejection. You have to treat every audition like it's a performance, because that way you feel fulfilled. You feel like, okay, I gave it my all, and now I can walk away from this and not sit there waiting for the phone to ring. And you can move on to the next thing. Same thing for a job interview. You go in there and and I think that's really kind of helps you relax, where you're just like, yeah, the odds are I may not get this, but I'm just going to be myself, and I'm just going to have a good time, and I'm just going to leave the best impression I can, and that's it.
And you can reframe it too. Each audition or a job interview is a learning opportunity. It's practice. And maybe it's better you didn't get that part, or better you didn't get that job, because maybe you wouldn't fit in from a job perspective, wouldn't fit in the corporate culture, or from the actor perspective, maybe it wouldn't have been the right part for you to be able to excel, or maybe that movie eventually tanks or something. Who knows, right?
Yeah, and then on a macro sense, that's the universe saying, yeah, that's not the path you're supposed to be on. There's a reason you didn't get that.
Because Dan, it's an opportunity cost too. If you get that part and it wasn't the right part for you, well, you probably couldn't have got this other part that you would have auditioned for the next week.
Exactly.
Well, that's great advice. And thank you so much for being on the show.
My pleasure, Dan. Appreciate you.